in Islam, for example, there is a division of property. Then the daughter will get half that of that son. The property which
Mhm.
son get, the daughter will get half of that. Don't you think there is a
Huh?
gender discrimination
So
here?
first say that again. Let him continue. Remember, this is his last problem barrier, and if we can understand his issue, and alhamdulillah, he will himself willingly come back. What is there for you to know to even ask more to come back to Islam? Is there anything really that you think that's there stopping you to come back? Because these things, as you realize, in just a half an hour, 1 hour sitting, is easy to clarify. And you know, you haven't perhaps sat with someone. You know, if you're in Bangladesh, for example, I would recommend you would have sat with some ulama there, someone who's trustworthy and reliable. I understand you may have found people who are Muslim scholars themselves fighting with each other, disagreeing with each other. That's the problem with the culture that's going on here. It's they themselves need to come back to the unity, as you rightly said. Muslim Ummah needs to be united. So should be the scholars, rather than accusing each other and so on. And that's one of the reasons, maybe, I think, that leads in ordinary Muslims like yourself, who wants to do good, who wants to be a good person, but sees the hypocrisy. And because of that, you think, how can I be a follower, a practitioner of this religion? So as you now realize, the fault is not with Islam, it's with people. If you accept Islam, you could be the one to drive this and say Muslims needs to come back. So you could be a good da'i, a good caller to Islam, and bring these people back and saying, stop fighting
But
with each
yeah,
other, the infighting with each other
I
you're doing.
understood.
Do you see,
But
like,
there
oh,
is the final
mm,
barrier in my way to come to Islam is that the
mm.
system of division of property in Islam. That's the
Okay,
final way of,
so let's clarify
yeah.
that then. Okay, very important. If that's the
Like
final,
in
and
Islam,
before,
during the
hold on, hold
division of
on,
property,
wait, slow down. We've got you. We know what the problem may be, but we will let you address the problem. But what I'm saying is, if this is a final thing, কোরআনে গাণিতিক ভুল আছে, আমরা শুনেছি এরকম, we've heard something like this, there's a mathematical error in the Quran or something like that, right? So if this is troubling you and we are able to now clarify this to you, then that's it, the final confusion is over. So now, tell us what you think, what the problem is. Yeah.
can I ask the question?
Yes, please.
Ask the question. It's regarding
Yeah,
if.
in Islam, for example, there is a division of property. Then the daughter will get half that of that son. The property which
Mhm.
son get, the daughter will get half of that. Don't you think there is a
Huh?
gender discrimination
So
here?
first say that
Let,
again,
let him,
please. Say that again, please.
please, let him continue. Remember, this is his last problem barrier, and if we can understand his issue, and alhamdulillah, he will himself willingly come back. So daughter gets half of the son. Yeah, carry on, my brother.
Yeah, don't you think it's a form of gender discrimination here?
Okay, very good question. Gender discrimination.
There is a gender discrimination. The Allah is creating a gender
Yeah.
area.
So I got your question. I think this is a very genuine
And there
question.
are some other points in Quran also where there is a gender discrimination.
Okay, like
Like
do you
in
want to give example? Sorry.
like there are in Surah An-Nisa, there is one line you can say, then other why the husband can be to the wife as well, not in the face but in some
Yeah.
other parts also.
Absolutely, good point that you made. So in Islam allows beating of the wives, as mentioned. So there's two things.
And in the division of property as well.
Yeah. Should we just? I mean, Sheikh, if you wish, if you can.
I'll answer the question of the fara'id of the inheritance.
But please, before you answer, let's understand this is a very important barrier for my brother Ayaz, which is preventing him from coming back to Islam, right? So it's very important for him. The question he's saying in Islam, so I'm clarifying that to you before you answer, so that we are all clear. In Islam, when it comes to inheritance, Islam to him, it seems to provide the daughters half of the inheritance to the son. This seems to be some kind of disparity, not some kind, clearly disparity. Someone gets half and some other ones get more. So it's not equal treatment. So there seems to be some injustice happening here because of how they're treated differently. That's his question when it comes to inheritance. Tafaddal. So let's hear this, Brother Ayaz, and we will hear what the Sheikh will explain.
Brother Ayaz, I want you to listen to me carefully, please. Yeah? Now,
Yes,
Islamically, a married couple, who needs to do the nafaqa, the expenditure? Who needs to do it?
So if I explain to him the question,
Please,
in Islam, who is responsible to provide the maintenance and the running of the family financially, looking after, spending money, buying food and everything? For example, paying the rent, paying the gas bill, the electric bill, the water bill, whatever, getting the food in, providing the clothes to the person, wife, children, daughters, everything, paying for their education, everything.
I understand that you will say that the husbands should do it. I know that.
No, don't go into an explanation. Sheikh is only asking you a question. So the answer is, you're saying, is it the man or the woman who's responsible to do that job?
In one word, you can say the man, but
man, fine.
In contrary to that,
brother, stop these buts. Stop these buts.
It's the man, right? It's the man. So Sheikh continue. So he said it's the man doing that.
Now, do you know how many times the woman inherits half what the man inherits? Do you know how many times?
Okay, so let me clarify again the question to you, my brother, because I'm trying to contextualize in the subcontinent.
Go ahead. Yeah.
So there are example scenarios in which inheritance can happen, right? People can inherit. Sometimes they can inherit as a mother, they can inherit as a sister, they can inherit as a daughter, they can inherit as a grandmother, and so on. Likewise, a man can inherit as a husband, as a son, as a brother, as a father, as a grandfather, and so on and so forth. So these kind of inheritance, they're not all the same. This point number one, the Sheikh is saying. They do not inherit the same. Even as a woman, sometimes she inherits differently than the other persons. So if firstly, do you know that there are difference of inheritance even as a man and a woman? And then Sheikh will continue after that. Are you aware of that?
Yes, what you said?
So even as a woman, for example, how much she gets as a daughter is not the same as how much she gets as a wife. Do you know that?
Children or hasn't got children.
Yeah, and some more, whether when she has a brother or a sister or not. Okay, so are you aware of these differences of inheritance values, right? How much they receive?
Yeah, but if you compare them in an equivalent way, like brothers and
you
sisters.
compare anything, don't go into comparison and but, as the Sheikh is saying. Firstly, what is acknowledging from you that you are aware. Fine, continue. Faddal, Sheikh. So let's.
Okay. So there are four of these stages, yeah, where a woman inherits half what a man inherits. 4 times, four occasions. A woman inherits half of what a man inherits. Then there are 8 occasions where the woman inherits like the man, okay, like the man, equal share. And then there is over 10 times when a woman inherits more than a man. So
okay, so let me explain again. So when it comes to inheritance distribution, even as a woman, there are occasions, like 4 occasions only out of many occasions. So out of our 41 or so, if I remember correctly that figure, only 4 occasions the woman inherits less than the man. But there are other occasions, 8 occasions, when a woman inherits exactly the same equal amount than a man. But there are more occasions, not
more
just 4 or 8.
10
occasions in which she inherits more than the man. So now you realize It's not as simple.
Sorry, Mansur. No. And in some occasions, she inherits and the man doesn't inherit.
Yeah, we haven't finished there yet. So when it comes to this inheritance, so only a few occasions she has less. Other occasions she has equal. And more occasions, more times, in other scenarios, she has more than the man. But most importantly, there are occasions she inherits and the man does not inherit. Now, in a scenario like this, without going into the details of brother and a sister, daughter and a son, right? We will cover that in a second. When you now realize the distribution of wealth, inheritance-wise, when it comes to man and a woman, do you see any inequality or do you see fairness? Do you see women getting less, by the way? Firstly, let's establish equality. So there are occasions where man doesn't inherit and the woman does. Now, in this case, is the treatment of women being bad here? Or are you really thinking, wow, woman inherits and man doesn't? Is it a good thing or a bad thing here? Is it something that you had a negative image first? Islam gives it to man more than the woman. But here the Sheikh is establishing there are occasions where woman gets the inheritance and the man doesn't. There are occasions where woman inherits more than the man. There are occasions where they're all the same. Only a few occasions, and that only counts to 4 occasions. One of them is a daughter and a son, right? They only get half of the counterpart. So do you still see here the inequality, or now you're realizing actually something else is going here? It's not about equality, it's about fairness, justice, and equity. Do you understand the difference between equality and equity? Islam is not for equal treatment. Islam is for equitable treatment. Let me give you an example what I mean by that, and then you'll be clear, Brother Ayaz. Brother Ayaz, let's say you've got 2 children, okay? Well, you're too young, maybe. Okay, fine. You've got 2 other brothers, or brother and a sister, okay? You yourself, your brother and a sister, maybe a 4-year-old, and a 2-year-old, and yourself, 23, 24 years old. You want to go and play. I see a football match in Mohammedan Stadium in Dhaka, for example. What you see is here, you don't go in the stadium, it's all locked, so you can see from outside, and there's a big wall, okay? You can't see through the wall. You say, I'm going to at least see above the wall and see the game. So Brother Morris comes along. He says, you know what? I'm going to provide you some step ladders. You can step on the ladders and you can see the game. So what he does, he brings 3 equal height step ladders. They are all 2 steps. You got on that step ladder and you are above the wall, and you can actually now see the game. But your brother and a sister who's 2-year-old and a 4-year-old, they're of course not taller like you. They're quite short. And with the same equal size step ladder, they got on and their wall is still that high. They can't see. In this case, would you say that was a fair thing to do? Give them equal opportunities? Or would you rather say, actually, what would be better is not give them equal treatment, give them same 2-step ladder, because it makes one advantageous to the other, and the other one is disadvantaged because they were short to begin with. What if we provide them with the ladders that are suitable for their needs? So the 4-year-old and 2-year-old get a 6-step ladder. So when they get up on the 6 stairs, now they're above the wall and they can see the game. This is called equity, equitable treatment. Islam gives this kind of equitable treatment to every individual based on their needs, the closeness, the proximity, and so on. And when it comes to inheritance, how far are you in the quraba, in the relationship? If it's too far away in a very distant relationship, a distant relative, you don't get as much as a close relative, for example. Yeah. So Islam does this equitable treatment to make sure it's fair and just. So let's deal with the matter at hand that you questioned about this, and we bring them all together. A brother or a sister. Now, I would say, and I would argue with you, Brother Ayaz, giving them equal inheritance will be unjust. Let me tell you why. So the brother receives the inheritance. The sister, the daughter that is, between daughter and son, received the inheritance. They haven't worked anything for it. It's free money gift that is coming from their parents, mom or dad. Okay. So the brother, after the father passes away, that's when the inheritance is coming. Who's going to look after now the family? It's not the sister. It's going to be the brother. So the brother has to now provide financially, look after the family, pay her tuition fees, school fees, uniforms, food, toys, yep, and everyone else in the family. He has to pay the rent. He has to pay everything else. Now, the sister doesn't have to do anything, doesn't have to spend a penny. So the money that she received, she doesn't have to spend it on anyone or anything. Now, look, if equal money is provided, and the man has to now provide everything for the family with the same amount of money, and the woman doesn't have to do anything. The sister doesn't have to do any spending. No one can touch her money. She's not obliged to do anything, and she will be receiving the money from the brother. So always she is on the receiving end, and the brother is on the spending end. So this brother will have to give the dowry, the mahar, the dowry, to his wife. And the wife, as a woman, she will be receiving that money. So she is always receiving, spending nothing. So this man, this boy or this son now, in this case, brother and sister, this brother, he has to spend so much money financially when the sister doesn't have to do anything. So when it now start looking at, like, okay, fine, how much money do you need then to look after the family? If it's going to come from your dad as an inheritance money, if it's coming equal amount, then it's unjust, because he has more financial burden and responsibility, which requires him to have more money than the sister, who has zero financial obligation. So if you are a sensible person, you will say, of course, the sister doesn't even need any money from inheritance, because she's not obliged to do any of the spending. The brother is responsible to look after the family. He has the financial burden. So if he requires any help, because this is all help, gift, free gift, inheritance, he needs to be provided this money so he can spend on it. So giving him double the portion is not only sensible and fair, but it's the just thing to do. But of course, people, when they look at the inheritance, they don't think about this way. They think it's that, oh, boy is getting more than the one. They don't realize that. And now, fitting all of this together in the whole Islamic inheritance law, you realize sometimes man, when they inherit less than the woman, or they inherit nothing compared to women when the woman inherits, or sometimes they inherit equally. So it's not about unequal treatment. It's actually looking at the distribution in a just, equitable way. That is the beauty and justice and the wisdom in the inheritance law. People often don't see this because they look peripherally on the surface. They don't look deeply and reflect on it. If you were to think about it, this, my brother Ayaz, think about, you are the brother receiving this inheritance, and you had a sister receiving the same amount in inheritance. You will say to your dad, to your mom who's living, why did I get the same amount of money when I'm the one spending everything? I'm the one who's going to be financially responsible to look after for everyone. Why did I not get double the money or more? You should be saying, I should have got more than the double. This is what it's missing from your understanding. So now I think we've clarified that matter to you. I want to just hear from you, Ayaz. Reflect on it and tell us, do you see why there is this inequality in certain cases, because the responsibility and the burden is there for someone else to provide? That's why there is this kind of distribution of wealth when it comes to inheritance.
But not in all cases. Like, in some cases, the women earn more than men. And if you look at the life of Prophet Muhammad, he married Khadija, and Khadija was a businesswoman.
Yeah. So, what's your question?
So she has a very great money with her. Like, there are many other women also who are very great.
Wait a second. Wait a second, brother Ayaz. forget
Mansur,
the personal life.
Mansur. He's jumping from one thing to the other.
I know, that's what I'm saying. Forget all of this. When it comes to Islam, you have an inheritance distribution system. And you had a question about why the brother gets more than the daughter or the sister here. Okay, brother and sister, they have unequal distribution, and you consider this to be unfair. We've explained to you why this is not unfair. In fact, why this is just and fair. And this is what every human being should agree on if they have a sound judgment. So I'm going to ask you now, have you understood this? And have you realized why this is the case, as we have explained?
Yeah, I understood your concerns, but the conditions are not fit in, but laws are not fit in all the conditions.
Ayaz, are you serious? Are you genuine? Because in here I started feeling that you are not genuine. We just told you, just wait please, Ayaz. I just told you that more than 10 occasions, a woman earns more than takes inheritance more than a man. There are occasions where a man does not take anything and the woman takes. All of this only 4 times. If you were genuine, you would say, okay, but it seems every time we give you answers, you are going. I've started to doubt that you were ever a Muslim, to be honest with you.
It's okay, brother Sheikh, husn al-dhan, inshallah, so that all people can benefit. So I am taking you, brother Ayaz, as a genuine shubahat that you have, but the question is on your court. Having explained to you the justice and the fairness in this equitable treatment, of course, you cannot argue. I don't have to even ask you, can you argue back against it? Because it's so obvious. We've made it so plain and clear that anyone who's watching and listening, they will see that this is indeed a fair treatment. No lawyer on planet Earth can argue against it. Here's my challenge. Not to you, to lawyers of the world. This is the beauty of Islam and the justice of Islam. And you see, brother Ayaz, you've seen it, that this is a very fair treatment. Out of 31 situations, according to calculations by the Committee of Azhar, long time ago I've seen, and these are only few occasions where the woman gets less, and there's a reason why so. So when now we realize, when it comes to inheritance system, which you had issues with, Islam is really something that gives you a just treatment, not equal treatment, just treatment. And we should always go for just treatment and not equal treatment. If you went for an equal treatment, my friend, my brother Ayaz, you will be the one selfishly watching the game, the football match, and your 4-year-old and a 2-year-old brother and sister, they will not be watching it and they'll be crying. And you'll be mean to them by not giving them a higher ladder. And you will be unjust to them. And when their eyes are overflowing with tears and crying, your heart will say, I abandon the concept of equality and I will go for equity. There's a difference between this term, equality and equity. Your heart, if it was genuine, it will abandon this concept of equality altogether and it will say, no, I would rather implement equitable treatment because that's fair and just. That's your concept of inheritance.